YouTube? Hey, it's Sunday morning, day 2 with FSDBeta version 9 installed. Learned a lot yesterday. Alright, I had to disengage for that bicycle while I'm giving you a little bit of an intro here. Learned a lot yesterday, both in my own multiple drives and also listening to a lot of other FSDBeta testers that live in other parts of the country and are doing this for the first time themselves. They joined the center lane there and then came out. I sent early access a little bit of feedback also. The things I mentioned were things that I noticed early on. With the turns were a little bit wider, but the acceleration and deceleration seemed to be much smoother. The unprotected left turns are still not there. They're aware of that issue. No need to really beat on that drum. Talk about the camera locations or how the creeping logic works. So anyway, the feedback is going back, and hopefully we'll continue to get updates on a more frequent basis than we have in the past. But for today, I'm going to do this one drive here in Jacksonville, Florida that's a little bit more heavily trafficked. It is Sunday morning. It's 8:15 on Sunday morning, so I'm not expecting to be weekday traffic or rush hour, but it's a multi-lane road, kind of a lot of stop lights, a lot of traffic left and right, and we'll see what we get with regards to interactions. This icon we're seeing here on the screen, I'm not sure how well it's showing up. The brake lights on the cars is new. Many changing lanes for slower traffic was the indication. This guy's coming over. Looks like it did okay. It changed its mind. So it put the blinker on. It was going to change lanes to go around this guy. Here it is, to follow route, changing lanes. But I'm not sure why it needed to do that, because we're going straight for a long ways here. Maybe it just wanted to be in the right lane. We also learned a little bit about the visualization, both from each other. The fuzziness in the display and the sharpness is an indication of the confidence level. So you see in this image right now, the yellow lines are nice and solid. The red line over here on the right is a little fuzzier, and the little road edges are kind of fuzz into nothing. The sharpness is an indication of confidence. So that'll be something, I guess you could say, is new information on this display that we did not have on the previous FSD display. While I think we did lose a lot of color information with regards to other cars, with the bounding boxes previously having their own colors based on the interpretation. We don't have that in this new display, but we do have the confidence levels mapped, which I'm really interested to study a little bit more. We also saw a lot of, not necessarily in my videos, but a lot of other symbology with regards to the icons and the different available graphics that are new. We definitely saw dogs. We definitely saw good pedestrians. We saw different shapes of cars. We saw trucks with trailers, and a few other things show up. Yeah, it's interesting. So each one of these little entrances into these businesses here, you can kind of see, while they're not mapped, Vision is putting them on the display. All right, it turned yellow. It's kind of right at the edge there of what I would have gone for. It ended up running the red light at the last second. Yesterday, I thought it did a pretty good job interpreting when to stop on yellows and when to go. That one was perhaps a little bit late, but sometimes those are tough calls. The other question I had yesterday, and I still didn't get any sort of official response from Elon, is or Carpathia or anyone official from Tesla, is about radar, and this being Tesla Vision only, on FSD City Streets mode that we're using right now, or is navigated on autopilot also using Vision only. My impression and my understanding is that all modes are Vision only. While I did do a little bit of smart summon testing, it was a little bit inconclusive. The navigator on autopilot, when I was in highway mode, definitely had the car length indications here, would go up to 7 and no lower than 2, which was one of the indications of a Vision only programming working. So I'm just going with that assumption that while this car does have a radar, it's not being used for any modes on this build of software. And on that subject of builds of software, this is 2021.4.18.12. So the FSD team is, that was an interesting little jog to the right there. The FSD team is still on I guess you could say, April fork, with the 4 representing the fork we're on, which is a little bit old. So some of the stuff that's been coming out to the Tesla Model 3 and Model Ys that are the newer ones without the radars are much further down the road. So there's still some fork branching to happen sooner. Okay, I don't know where it's going here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mark that as not satisfactory because I don't know where it's going. All right, let me join back over here. I'm gonna have to re-look at that, where it thought it was going. We have a long straightaway here. There are a lot of these little turn lanes to go into these businesses. I'm not exactly sure. Have to look at that in post-production. If you see something that you think maybe teased the car into trying to get over in that right lane when we're navigating directly, please put a comment down below. Yeah, so the discussion that I was having was just about the software version numbers and when we're going to kind of perhaps all be on the same code base. Who knows? We may never be on the same code base. FSD has always been a few behind what the production cars are getting with respect to game uploads or the small little features that get introduced into the field, which is fine. We're mostly out here training and testing the neural networks. Got a pedestrian coming up running over here on the sidewalk. So the sidewalk isn't mapped, but you definitely see the pedestrians showing up fairly confidently. There have been a few signs or poles that have showed up as pedestrians incorrectly. I'm sure that'll be just refinement. Okay, so that yellow light pretty aggressively caught the car and did what we expected. All right, so the drive up to this point has been pretty straight and narrow, and I kind of just used this as a route to get us to where I was intending to go, and that is this section right here. While this time of day the traffic won't be very high, it is one of the busiest and most trafficked areas in this city. A lot of lights, a lot of lanes, a lot of intersections, and in busier times of day, a lot of traffic. So we'll see how the car does today. I've got it programmed to go into a mall in the area, and we'll just see how that goes. Interesting, we have lights here on these that are showing up really, really well. And both of them, of course, are stopped at the light, and the brake lights are both on. And this one right here just flickered on and off. Quite a lot of things being imaged here. Kind of going back into infinity there a little bit with respect to mapping the area, but it's definitely mapping the cars that it can see. And obviously looking straight behind, those are being mapped just with the repeaters looking aft and and the camera right at the tailgate. This coming up overpass here that we go under was one of the scenarios that continually produced phantom braking results as the car, approached something that the radar returns were coming off of. Going underneath this overpass, while it slowed just a bit, that was not what I would call phantom braking at all. I think it's just reacting to traffic and different lighting situations. Bit of a jog there, but not much. Putting on the blinker to follow route. I don't think that's necessarily accurate considering we have a left turn up there. Now look, we got a left turn to follow route there. That was pretty aggressive to come back. So that was 2 lane changes that were both unnecessary. The banner said to follow route, so it wasn't going around slower traffic because that has its own badge and banner. I would say that was not so hot there. Unnecessary lane changes. No blinker lane change there. That is not good. Sorry there. Alright, so it should just completely flow. That was an easy unprotected left with a nice gap there. All right, so now we're a little bit into a mapped parking lot. I'm just going to let it keep going. There's no traffic really to worry about here. Kind of see how fuzzy this gets right here. Boy, that's a good example of how the sharpness of the lines is indicating its confidence level. This is all basically, I'm guessing, unmapped with regards to where it's going. Hopefully that sun coming into the front of the windscreen isn't washing out too much. Marked a double stop sign there. That was not what was visible. All right, it's making its own curve here. All right, so now we're in a parking lot and it's working its way up to a map location, but none of these parking spaces that have lines on them are being mapped here. So that's interesting, and it's kind of just meandering around a large parking lot trying to get to this location here. All right, it found a yellow line. Obviously it likes that a little bit better. I think it decided it wanted to go in there, but now it's going to go around the other way, and it's really not allowed to, so I'm going to stop it here because that's a one-way arrow. You can, okay. Well, it is not a perfected, unmapped navigator, that is for sure. I think that the fact it got us all the way there, we did a good job. There were definitely a couple of lane changing issues. So now that we're here, yesterday someone asked me if I could do some smart summon testing, and I think I want to try smart summon in the back while I'm sitting in the car and do smart summon to a location rather than come to me. See how this works with the display. Currently the app says it's connecting to the vehicle. Let's see if this works while I'm keeping the film rolling. This app definitely has some bugs. I think sometimes I have to force close things and retry them. Okay, that time it worked. So I'm gonna go ahead and try smart summon. Obviously I've got the satellite mode on. I'm gonna put the target over there at the location that we just were, and it says smart summon is currently not ready. I've seen this a lot recently and I could not fix it. So what have tried before is just going forward a little bit and then letting go, and then going back to Smart Summon and giving it a location there. And then let's see if it works this time. It's basically, now that time it is. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and go to target. Now I'm going to, so essentially using Smart Summon while I'm in the car. Now down here you see autopilot navigation is complete. Press accelerator, resume. That's obviously from the previous route. None of the, okay, there are no cards around. None of the visualizations are showing up from, it's backing up. Okay, there we go. I definitely don't think it did everything possible to not have to do that backup, but it's working its way around. But we don't have any visualizations here from FSDBeta was the point I'm trying to make. So even though I'm in the car going to a target, it's working its way around, but boy, is it sure unconfident right now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it there because the car did not get where it wanted. But you see, as soon as I stopped, the FSD visualizations came back. So what I'm going to assume there is that it wasn't using any sort of Tesla vision on Summon there because it wasn't displaying it. I don't know if that's accurate or not. There's no way for me to honestly know if that's the case. But that's about as best of a test or an experiment I can do on this build to show you how Smart Summon works and if it's possibly using FSDBeta. All right, let me reset a route and then we'll get back to navigating a little bit more in some of the traffic. GoPro, stop recording. Okay, we've got our new route back in here, and this one's going to combine a little bit of FSD and a little bit of Navigator and Autopilot just for a short segment. All right, it's going for it. It's wide open, so I just let it go there, but it sure did feel like it went for it without pausing where it needed to look left. It's hard for me to say. I can't... I could see it was clear, so I'm going to assume the car could see it was clear there too, but it aggressively went from the stop line all the way into the lane where you normally might have crept up a little bit more and then proceeded into the lane. But here we are at basically a 4-lane intersection both ways with quite a bit going on. So I'm going to kind of show you the projections from behind a little bit on how many cars are being mapped behind us with vision. That's obviously relatively new going that far back. I don't remember that many cars being mapped on the previous versions before Tesla Vision. All right, we're coming up here and we're getting onto an on-ramp onto an interstate. So we should see a little bit of the merging action. Not a lot of traffic again, but you see the merge from FSD to Navigator and Autopilot. It's going to need to get into the right lanes after the next intersection. And very kind of, boy, it jumped over and now it's coming back into this lane. So there's another one in the same area and it needs to be over there. If it doesn't, okay, it can. No, not going to do that. All right, so there was a car 2 lanes over, so it did not safely make that maneuver. And it's going to have to remap, so we might not actually end up getting on that interstate. Well, it thinks it wants to, so I don't know how it's going to do it from here. So I'm going to re-engage. There's some traffic around us, so it's going to have to interact a little bit. Okay. Okay, they cannot get there from there, so I don't know what it was thinking it could do. All right, that set of disengagements was a little confusing because it was vision and mapping fighting each other about what it wanted to do. It got itself in some situations that it had to be unsafe to fix, unsafe with regards to crossing multiple lanes with cars in the way, and it just couldn't get there from there. So a little bit of a disappointment, I guess, with regards to getting itself where it needed to in a few times. I'm not sure why it's doing all these lane changes unnecessarily. It's effectively wasting time to get where it needs to go to correctly navigate. So it's basically replotted a route that's going to get us where we're trying to go, but with a little less of a navigate and autopilot kind of interaction. Car stopped on the side of the road here. It's not moving. Gave it a little bit of a berth, but that car is parked pretty close to the white line. Up past this next light, there's a city bus that is currently has its lights flashing for being stopped. It looks like, okay, the light just went off, but we are definitely in that bus's lane, so we may catch up to it in a little bit. This red light may put a little bit of distance between us also. That's one of those scenarios with a city bus versus a school bus, and how the interaction will work. Previously, it had gone up behind the bus, it realized it's not going anywhere, and it used the banner that said going around slower traffic. So now we are going to be behind the bus. So yeah, brake lights on the larger icons too, so that's good. That flashing red is not necessarily meaning it's stopping. I think that's just the bus's brake lights. The bus is definitely a large, darker color. All right, so he went over into the right lane, and we're just going to go around him here. That's just what the car chose to do. That's fine. Okay, changing lanes to follow route. Let's hope it stays in this lane. We've got about a mile to go, and it did it again. It's double changing lanes. That's interesting. Changes over for route and then comes back. That's indecision. I will say a lot of the other FSD beta testers yesterday were complaining of this. I wasn't doing these multi-lane navigating drives yesterday very much. I was a little bit more suburban, 1-2 lane road. So I think I'm definitely seeing what they were talking about. That same indecision is what got it in trouble back there for trying to get onto the highway. It couldn't do it because it kept changing its mind about the lane to be in. Okay, it's upcoming change. So now we're at 0.4 miles. So that's typically where the previous versions had started thinking it needed to get over. So hopefully it'll stay here at this point. No, it's coming back kind of aggressively there. Huh. All right. Well, now it's in the wrong lane for this turn. And let's see if it gets itself in a bind again. Okay, it's got the blinker on, but now if there was a car there, it definitely wouldn't have made it. But it, at the last minute, got over and was lucky because there wasn't a car there. So that definitely needs some work. I've used the snapshot button a handful of times already, so on that. So I think I've captured it adequately. But I'll need to talk to Early Access about that specifically. Navigation is suffering due to lane change indecision, for sure. And it's even telling me now an upcoming lane change is needed. Now, this lane change is 2.4 miles away, so I would rather it stay either in the center lane or the right lane right now, rather than get over immediately, but we'll see what it's going to do. Pedestrian on the sidewalk and a bicycle, and it definitely mapped the bicycle graphic there. Alright, so it's wanting to go left again. That's to follow route again, so that wasn't about slower traffic, that was just to follow the route. The brake lights are not really perfectly consistent. That's definitely a little bit of identification. They kind of flicker on and off at times. Like 3 cars with the brake lights showing. Let's go back around. Cars in parking lots, cars behind. Really am impressed with these, I'll call them unmapped, Tesla Vision access roads that are showing up. That's going to be definitely an improvement in the future when navigating in unmapped areas, like back in that parking lot. If it can really keep working on that vision confidence. So now I'm in the left lane that I need in 1.4 miles, so I would normally just stay here if I'm here, unless there was some traffic to get around. I'm not sure if it got here because of that turn or anything else, so we'll see. Slowing here for something I can't see yet. I'm not sure what it's slowing for. That stoplight was green. It was perceived as green. It was a very subtle deceleration. It wasn't braking as much as it was a decel, so I'm not sure. So a few of you have asked what these little arc rings are. So there's a raised median right here. These are the ultrasonic sensors, and the color of these arcs are a range detection. I see these arcs when I'm backing out of my driveway, when there's a pole or something nearby. These are the short-range ultrasonic sensors that pop up. They pop up when you're on a bridge or when there's something really close to you that it perceives. Theoretically, those sensors are what would keep the car from hitting a curb or something like that. But how they're showing up on this visualization is something I haven't talked about before. All right, so we do have a left turn here. It is a dual turn lane, which means either the left or the right lane can turn. If it chooses the inner lane, which looks like it might be going for the outer lane here. No, it's very indecisive at the moment. And the other thing is, this is a railroad crossing. Look at all these stoplights being projected here. Now, I'm glad it stopped right here. It's not mapping this as a railroad. Okay, there's green light, but you can see there's a railroad tracks, and it proceeded. Now, I do have a nice dotted white line to follow here, and it's mapping it, and it did a good job on that turn. It seems to really do good on turns when it has these lines to follow. If the lines aren't there, yesterday it was taking them pretty wide, but I couldn't complain against that turn. Okay, we're indicating an upcoming lane change again. Yeah, so that last, navigation segment on that last couple miles was okay. It didn't flip-flop on the lanes like it did on the previous road, so I'm not sure what to chalk that up to. here's a situation that's evolving right now. This car right here, if I continue to out accelerate it, it's going to have to slow down to get into the right lane when it's going to want to. Changing lanes to follow route, and it slowed down. It made that turn, but it pretty closely to the car, safe. Had that proceeded another second, it would have been a little bit more complex and a deceleration to make it happen. Okay, so let's see when the blinker would come on normally again. I'll try to time it when I would normally hit it. I'm slowing down. I would do my blinker right about now. And it's a little bit late here. Okay, and there's the blinker. That's a little later than yesterday. The deceleration for that turn, though, felt really, really good. Crossed the yellow line just a bit in doing that, but that deceleration felt good. If there was somebody right on my tail, I wouldn't have been worried too much. All right. So that's basically it for today. I would say, the downside of today was some confusing lane changes that was definitely reported by other beta testers yesterday. And those confusing lane changes got itself into some trouble in navigating. So who knows? We'll submit that feedback and see where it goes. Please leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Have a great day. GoPro, stop recording.